Dr. Erin here at Focus TV Network in West Hollywood. And I don't think you want to miss this show if you're somebody that desires more confidence, more flexibility, pain-free, and just loving life through your body. You want to stay tuned because I've got the greatest guy here, Erin Alexander. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you so much.
First of all, I want to say that I love your name because Erin, it's a really cool name. And secondly, Alexander is my father's name. So
And it's alliteration.
there you go.
No big deal.
Right?
Yeah.
So what's up? We got this pose here. We got some action. It's like
not
a little
pose,
It's like
Erin.
it's so good.
So this position to me just feels a lot better for lots of reasons. One of which, I actually have varicose veins in my legs, which is something I've been working on sussing out for quite a while now. So I'm kind of like, in a sense, like a canary in the coal mine for blood building up in our legs, right? So we have that throughout the day. If you look at people that are working like in standing in place jobs, like working at cashiers or something like that, their bodies end up creating more blood to compensate for their lack of movement.
Wow.
Right? So they end up being these like heavy blood bags because their body's just not moving the way that it's, evolved to move.
I love that. So let's just give the audience a little cap. So you are basically a movement coach.
Yeah, you said it.
And I love your work. I think your podcast is amazing.
Thank you.
A line podcast, and you're very conscious, and you're hot, smoking hot. Let's just get it straight. So the women out there are like, hey, what are we going to do? The guys are like, what does he do? The women's like, what do we do? So first of all, people are like, that's weird, movement. This is something we just don't hear about. So I'm excited for this conversation because I need to get more conscious in my movement.
Yeah.
And this is real stuff. We're
real stuff.
like, this is real stuff.
It's really happening. Yeah, we were talking before a little bit about, like I have my tango class, I have that one activity that I'm excited to become better at. And what we end up doing is we end up kind of like martyring ourselves throughout the day, being in probably this position.
Yeah, mine's like
quite often, right? And then even sitting in the car, the same thing. That blood's just pulling up in our legs. We're putting our pelvis into dysfunctional positions, and then, we're like ready to be a star for like 35 minutes.
The high heels,
right, exactly. And so the intention of the work that we're doing with the whole aligned movement stuff is educating people on these basic fundamental principles that you can start to integrate into every aspect of who you are throughout the day, right? So if you can do the basics, then that spills into everything else.
So you guys have to know that, like, Erin shows up and it's not just like this is some conversation he has. Like, he walks in the door and he's like prancing through. He's doing these different these poses. He's stretching in the middle of the conversation. You're like, what are you doing? And it's like because you literally live this all day long.
It's because it feels better, Erin.
Okay.
Yeah. As we're doing it, I'm like, I promise this is about my biology. It's not so much about others. And every once in a while, like there is certainly, I think, an awareness of like, oh, this is hopefully maybe influential in a way that doesn't just put people off, but the whole like hashtag of the podcast is move different, right? So kind of like playing off of Apple Think Different, like we can move differently, right? But I think you have to, in a sense, this could be potentially a little cheesy, but it's almost like being a revolutionary and being willing to be in a culture that you see is, hurting themselves essentially, biologically, and being willing to say like, okay, I see that that's not maybe the best thing for my own biology. I'm willing to go outside of that and maybe start to, open up my hips a little bit or stack my spine. But the big thing is we also have to be a part of a tribe.
Right.
Right.
So I'm imagining, everything from people in corporations who are sitting at their desks to people we've got laptop lifestyles. How do we get on our laptops and not sit in the same position all the time? We've got people that probably come to you for things from confidence, walking a room. How do I hold myself differently to, sensuality? How do we move our bodies more? Like, what is the primary person that comes to you? Is it because they want to get really fit and look good, or is it somebody who's dealing with chronic issues?
I deal with a lot of people that end up going through, a lot of medical practitioners of all sorts, and chronic pain is a really big one. And then we were kind of starting to touch on a little bit of like, what the heck is chronic pain in the first place, which is a bigger conversation. But what we end up finding as we start to unpack that conversation of like, why do I have pain in my body? A big thing is as we're moving through the world, we're kind of actually practicing a position of stress. right? So when you put yourself in this forward folded position, I'm kind of putting my hands up in there's like a fighting position maybe-ish, right? But this position, physiologically, we receive that signal that, oh God, Erin is in defense mode, right? So that ends up translating to more, stress hormones, cortisol, and all the ones, right?
And so
You get
that's
that
my
cocktail.
question. How do you deal with the subconscious? Because if you're dealing with somebody on the physical, for me, I actually like herniated a disc. I
Yeah.
had all kinds of problems. And when I did my subconscious work, it all went away. And I didn't even work out that much more, whatever. So I'm imagining you're dealing with the physical, but how do you deal with what's truly going on that's having them not be conscious enough to even,
Yeah.
the physical mental equivalent of what's
Yeah,
going on?
so Ida Rolf is this sweet little German lady that was the founder of Rolfing, structural integration, a long time ago. She's gone now. But one of the things that she said is we work with the body because it's what we can get our hands on, right? So all of these different, deeper, emotional, whatever, things that I don't consider myself an expert, to really even speak on so much. It's like a hobby, I guess, in that realm. The things that I can help with more specifically is physically, where are your joints at?
Okay.
Right? But that's kind of like a Trojan horse, right? We can see through your body language, we can see through the organization of your joints and your connective tissue. It's your story, right? Every day, every year, it's a new chapter that holds you in a new potential position. Right? So when you come into a room with, like a manual therapist or practitioner, whatever, a physical therapist, they can kind of see your last 30 years.
So true, right? So I love this conversation. We actually have to take a break, but when we come back, I want to do a few things. One, I want to know, was there something what brought you to this? Was there a hard thing you went through? Did you have some trials and tribulations, or were you always just physical in this nature? And then I also want I want the audience to basically have some takeaways today. I want you to give them some tips that they can do straight away today to start living a better movement life, right? Okay, so stay tuned, you guys, as we hear the real story, the raw story of this hunk of a movement coach right here, Erin Alexander. Stay tuned. Dr. Erin here, Doctor of Divinity, teaching universal laws and spiritual truth. And I am thrilled to announce the new show on Focus Television right here in West Hollywood, Los Angeles, California. Join us weekly as I interview incredible people, celebrities to your next door neighbor, you name it, your girlfriend. We're going to dive into such topics as love and relationships, health and vitality, business and money, and creative expression. And I'm thrilled to just go on this awakening journey with you as we tap into meditation, visioning processes, intuition, and all the above. So stay tuned as we do this together. Hi there, I hope that you're enjoying this great conversation. I'm here at Focus TV Network in West Hollywood, America's first streaming video talk network. And I want to hear your story. We would like to showcase your story about consciousness, awakening, and spirituality. So you can reach out to me at below. You'll see right here my email and all of our contact information. We want you. Now back to the show. We're back with Erin Alexander talking about movement. So I'm curious to know, have you always just been, because you come across this big light, you're very conscious, you're very awake, you're obviously very fit. Have you always been like this, or was this something you had to was there anything to overcome?
So from a fairly young age, I ended up having, I think people that probably think they have the most balanced upbringing sometimes often have underbelly things that they haven't maybe addressed so much.
Yeah.
I had more apparent things with fatherly issues, and it's kind of an interesting story. But my dad ended up going to prison when I was 16 years old. He's beautiful, wonderful man, and he's a great person in my life today. But there was an interesting moment, I think, of maybe scarcity, you could call it. So the feeling of at any moment the world, the floor could fall out from underneath you. And I was pondering on this actually on the way here. I ended up packing on muscle as a means of, I think it would be like protection,
For sure.
you know? And so I had like a lot of body dysmorphia, I would say, you know, in the sense where I would look in the mirror and it would feel as though like I was never like big enough.
Wow.
Right. And then when I would I was like, oh, you're big enough, big enough, big enough. So that's like, I'm not enough. Okay. Right. So then we get tangled up in that. And once again, so when you see a bodybuilder, when you see whatever it is, it's not just, oh, that's great, they have muscles. That's, you know, that's amazing. It's, oh, what's the story behind it? You know, and sometimes what we can have is we can have a seed of insecurity, a seed of imbalance, a seed of, you know, void filling, whatever it may be. And then we pack. And then all of a sudden it becomes almost a more complex process of unwinding what we packed so we can get back and rebuild.
I love that. So how have you found that balance between just making peace with the physical nature? How did you do it?
I'm still doing it.
I know, right?
Yeah. I don't feel like I graciously receive like consciousness and you know, awake and things like that. But honestly, I feel like I'm still right there on the journey. Yeah, I don't feel like I've reached any degree of anything. I feel like it's just, I'm just here, you know, and we're still tumbling through these weeds.
I agree. It's like if you're here, you're still human. You haven't graduated from the school. So anyone that says they've completely figured it out, run the opposite direction. I feel like, we're here practicing every day.
Yeah, there's a Buddha quote like that. If you find the Buddha, you're supposed to kill the Buddha, apparently.
Right.
Right. Don't trust the Buddha.
Okay, so let's give them some tips, some hacks, something today. What is it that they can do to take back in their life today to begin having better movement? Yeah,
huge one that this needs to be discovered at like, you know, you naturally discover it as a little person, right? Not as like, you know, as like a baby. You see them sitting on the front edge of their pelvis, their sit bones, right? Most of us, you see, I was recently in Parliament in England. I went in, I was like watching the thing, and there's all these world leaders sitting there, and they're in these collapsed, depressive positions, right? So physiologically, their body's in a broken position, and they're making these, you know, big world impacting decisions. You know, so starting off, just figuring out how do I stack my pelvis.
So what does that mean? So if I'm sitting back like this, obviously that means I'm not sitting right. So you mean kind of sitting up to where it's aligning. Oh my gosh, I just figured out the whole name, your whole brand.
Yeah. So everybody at home listening, what they can do is they can just start off and literally reach back and grab their butt cheeks.
Grab your ass, people.
This is a very personal experience.
Okay.
This is good. This is good rapport building if we can all grab our butt cheeks together, I think. Right? So you grab your butt and start to pull your butt back to the corner of the seat a little bit. Right? And so if you're sitting on like a normal chair, then you want to maybe get to the edge of that chair and kind of the difference would be rolling yourself back like this or rolling yourself forward.
So if I'm at a desk, I could like come to the top of it and then be a little bit more, instead of going way back where it's going to push myself a little bit.
And if you're on a chair, it's really important that you're on a chair that if your butt is a little bit higher than your knees, so if you put a ball on your thigh here, it would roll down.
Oh, okay.
What that does is it inherently puts you on the front edge of those little bones coming out your butt cheeks, and it also allows a little bit of weight to pour into your feet.
Okay. Hence some of those chairs where your actual knees are like down, like you're sitting.
They'll naturally put you into that position where you're on the front edge of that pelvis.
I love that.
Right? And what that does is that ends up giving you a little bit of this lumbar curve, right? If you have a lumbar curve, then all of a sudden your discs go into a balanced position and you don't start risking things like disc herniation, right? And that also creates the foundation for the rest of the levels of the spine and the head to be able to come down and feel that stack or alignment.
I remember watching this thing because I started getting headaches, a couple years ago when I was just, at my computer all day long. And I remember Googling things about neck and they're like, it's like having a bowling ball on top of a stick. If it's straight up, it's actually not that much weight. But if you put the bowling ball forward, it's a lot of tension to hold that bowling ball up. So really making sure that the neck is straight all the time, which is challenging if you're at a computer because you're looking down like this. So bringing the computer up helped me a lot.
Yeah, if you can get to that point where you actually find a stack from your feet to your knee to your pelvis all the way up through, then your body ends up actually creating energy. What the hell is energy? Right? But with energy, in the sense you could call it literally ATP, adenosine triphosphate, if you wanted to be, speaking more like scientific language. But your body's able to heal itself right? Because you're not crimping those hoses.
Yep.
Again, these are literal and also maybe figurative hoses.
As we say in what I teach in spirituality is we get out of the way. It's basically most of the work is just getting out of the way. So it allows the truth, the energy to flow. So it's a physical thing, same thing. We're just trying to get out of the way to allow the body to be in alignment, as your brand is, to just allow that energy to flow. So I love that. So we have to take another break.
Great.
But when we come back, you've got this really cool band. And he was
band.
showing me a little bit before we began with outside on, in West Hollywood, beginning the show. So I want to maybe have a couple little
Totally
fun
normal.
things so that they can get some bands or do whatever and
we can do
I don't know, change their life with
Yeah.
some bands.
Maybe we can whip each
we
other
can
with the band
we
as
can
well.
get in a
That'd be
band
nice-
and play
nice
with the
added
band
benefit.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, I
Okay,
like it.
so
There's a
stay
lot of
tuned, you
uses.
guys, as we learn how to have resistance, to have you get stronger and have more confidence in all areas of your life. Okay, stay tuned, you guys. Hi there. I hope that you're enjoying this great conversation. I'm here at Focus TV Network in West Hollywood, America's first streaming video talk network. And I want to hear your story. We would like to showcase your story about consciousness, awakening, and spirituality. So you can reach out to me at below. You'll see right here my email and all of our contact information. We want you. Now back to the show. Okay, we are back talking about aligning your physical body. And you said in one of your podcasts that, was it Alan Watts, who referred to physical as a physica, which means to align with nature. And I love that so much.
Yeah,
That was
I
a good
think it
one.
was Bu. I'm going to mess this up, I'm sure. This is something I read and then put in the podcast. But Bu is an Indo-European word meaning, please fact check me, but I think that is nature or coming
Physica
into.
means, I looked it
Physica,
up, yeah.
I think
it means
is
to align
be.
with nature or whatever, to
We
basically
gotta
be one.
we gotta throw it in the notes or whatever, right?
For sure.
But the word physical, essentially, if you break it down, the roots of it, is to come into your own nature. Right, and so I think that's, you see that a lot with people where that we're moving around the world and maybe we're wearing footwear, for example, that might put us into a position that we don't necessarily feel really grounded and stacked, right? And that doesn't necessarily need to just be high heels, right? That's like the elephant in the room, but it doesn't necessarily be that. It could be just clothes that or shoes that close your feet up.
Yeah, or rubber soles that don't allow us to ground
Connect
with
with
the
the
earth, right?
Right, which that's another
Yeah.
big conversation that I don't necessarily, I ask real professionals about their opinion and they all seem to agree.
Okay, so let's pretend I'm your client. I've called you up. I want to work with you. What do I do? You're gonna take me out on the jungle gym. You're gonna take me with these what are you gonna do with me? What am I gonna do?
Jungle gym, that's like the end game that we're looking for.
What am I gonna do?
No, the first steps is first just meeting you and kind of watching you walk.
Walking
Right?
around,
And seeing, you get so much information from just watching someone walk into the room, right? Another Ida Rolf quote is, the way that you walk through a room is the way that you walk through your life. Okay, so as someone comes into your office or your room, your relationship, your business, whatever it is, you gather who they are just from being with them.
Right.
Right, and so that's the first part. And
so
then
you're gonna just watch me. I'm your client. You're
It
just gonna be
sounds
like,
creepy.
you're gonna be like, I'm just gonna take you and watch you for a little while.
Yeah, I'm not. Hopefully, I'm not so after doing it for the last 10 years or so. I'm not as creepy about it. Still about as creepy as you can see now.
Okay.
But I'm trying to keep it a little bit incognito. We're just hanging out and talking.
Yeah.
Right. So I can gather a lot of information from someone just by being with them. I don't necessarily need to have the clipboard and okay, sign the things, and I'm going to go look at my cell phone while you tell me about you.
Yeah, and then you're gonna look at maybe my life. Where am I working? How am I sitting at my computer? Things like that.
Yeah, so then watching somebody squat is another really
Squat.
big information indicator.
Just squat down for a minute.
Just adding to the creepy level,
Okay.
yeah. Right, so as you go through a squat, we start to see a lot of things. We see ankle range of motion. We see if maybe you have a tendency of that knee dropping in as you squat down, which is going to put a lot of stress on the knee. It's going to disengage the glutes, right, and then onward up the chain. Right, so there's certain kind of you call them a shotgun approach or shotgun positions that if the body can do that well, that's kind of like a litmus test for functionality throughout the rest of the body.
So now you've assessed me. You're like, okay, we need to work on you. What do? You give me this band and I'm going to do this. Like, what are you going to do with
It
me?
depends. So the band stuff is educating people more on like a public level, right? Doing workshops and such, and then it becomes homework for people, right? But it's just having some type of visual / also quite minimalist tool to have in your life.
Yeah, you
right?
can take that on a trip with you.
Take
That's
it anywhere
so
you want to
great.
go.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the big thing the value that I find with it, because people need homework, right? You need something that's like, it's not just I'm paying you a bunch of money and then you do a couple things to my shoulder, right? And then you're like, great, now I have 2 weeks for that to just go away.
But so reality, like, okay, you're going to give me the homework assignment. Is it going to be like an hour a day? Is it going to be X amount of reps of this and that, or what does it look like?
Yeah, if you're a person that needs an hour a day, like that type of regimen, then we do that. I just give people videos, and then I will prescribe different techniques and say, like, these 3 videos, these 3 techniques, work with it before you wake, or when you wake up, before you go to bed. Those are really nice times, right? So it's kind of like, before you go into battle, you'd probably like organize your swords and your weaponry and all that. You want to kind of like, all right, we're good, we're ready, right? So before you go into the day, I want you to just start that process of organizing your tissue, your body, and I think it's always your mind, and before you go to bed, I want you to take all that stuff off from the day. Right? So if you were in whatever, this is the position of modern humanity, but whatever your position may be, right? You could be a golfer, you're in this position, right? I don't want you to go to bed with that, right? So I want you to come back to a neutral space, right? And then wake up in a neutral space.
Every day.
And then you kind of, you can swizzle yourself up throughout the day, but that you come back to taking that off.
Nice.
Think of it like an outfit.
I love that. I love that. Well, I'm so excited to start to play with the band.
Cool.
I got a little bit of a 101 before, and I'm hoping to get a little bit more right after we complete our little interview here. But I want to know how I can begin to just open my space up more. We're always expanding. I think one of the things I love about the conscious conversation is we're ever growing, and I'm obsessed with getting better. And so I look forward to taking that band into my life and learning how I can walk into a room with more presence.
That's
and,
right.
Get away from slouching on the computer. So,
Cool.
So where can everyone find you?
AlignTherapy.com.
AlignTherapy.com.
So ALIGN therapy.com. It's on the little band thing.
You have to check out his podcast also. Amazing. I mean, JP Sears, all kinds of great people on there, right?
Yeah, JP is a bud as well. He comes to Southern California quite a bit.
Awesome.
So
He's hilarious. He's the one that does all those funny spiritual spoofs. Very evolved man, I'm sure, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that the reason for his evolvement is he is also aware of the stuff that he's still going through. And I think that's something I really value about JP.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so Align Therapy, and you do one-on-one coaching. You always have products. You have different food products on there, I saw, and I think that the podcast is much like anybody that's into, honing their movement, honing their physicality. A great podcast, a very good niche. I really love it a lot.
Thank you. And then people, if they want, they can start. I have a 5-day movement challenge on there, so that's on the very first page, and people can jump on there and just kind of the videos also I think are pretty funny. But it's just starting that process of integrating some of these principles, what the heck are these principles, into your daily life. Okay,
great. And then for social media, I know you have Align Podcast on Instagram, right? But do you go as Erin Alex on other
No,
social?
it's Align Podcast on all of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. If you look on YouTube, it would be Align Therapy. But anything else that's social media, it's all Align Podcast.
Okay, great. Well, check it out, you guys. If you're looking to embody, the truth and your highest expression, check his workout. I really, really like it a lot. So you guys have a wonderful day, and may you live your truth.